Okay, so I won't lie. While I was writing this video, I felt myself become more and more hypocritical. Let me explain. I've made this to share the lessons that I've learned from living with functional neurological disorder for the last couple of years. And while those lessons have been life-changing and incredible, and I want to share them, I don't necessarily believe that I feel them for myself right now, truly, wholly, honestly. It's really hard for me to sit here and tell you all these beautiful, magical, wonderful things when I don't necessarily identify with the person that I'm describing. I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna tell you to have patience with yourself when I'm in a place where maybe I'm having a bit more distaste for myself than I would like. And so it just feels wrong. It feels wrong to sit here and say otherwise. So despite being in a backslide, I'm gonna tell you all the best things I've got. Because maybe that's my guiding light. Those lessons that I have learned them, are my guidance back to a better relationship with myself, a better relationship with my body, and just to have a better life, to have a better time here while we're all here. So perhaps I need to make this selfishly to remind myself of those lessons, remind myself of what the truth really is, and that's the fact that shame is not the answer. Shame is not working anymore. It's not gonna be the solution. It's just not an option. In my last video, I admitted to the internet what I had been keeping close to my chest, which was this diagnosis of FND, because of how horrendously I've been treated in the past. It's a very personal diagnosis, but on top of that, I have a very poor history of the way it's been treated. And I had this feeling like I needed to hide myself away in order to repair myself to be more presentable for the world. But a new reality has come upon me where now I'm making the conscious choice to not hide myself in this disorder, in contrast to everything that shame wants me to do. So yeah, instead let's get into all of these lessons and what my life looks like and what I've learned over the last few years living with FND. Let's talk about the price of shame. As most of us would generally understand, your body talks to you. Like, it has things to say. So I feel like with everything going on in the world and the type of entertainment we have now, like, it can be so easy to completely tune out like your body's natural means of communicating with you. Like, when is the last time you genuinely just like sat in stillness, like not trying to be like mindful yogi or anything like that, like just like sat? Because I love screen maxing and everything, but like if I don't give my body the break that it needs, it deserves, it's asking for, I will end up feeling ill. I will feel mentally drained, guaranteed. The same goes for my seizures. It works very similarly where, you know, I love having a safe place to live. I love having my home be as seizure-proof as possible, which is crazy to think about now. It's not like a matter of if I will seize, it's a matter of how and when. Knowing that seizures will come does inform the way in which I live my life. And it informs me that my space needs to be as seizure-proof as possible. Listen, I've tried the route of pretending like it's not happening, like almost as if it's like a hiding in plain sight like type thing. Like if I sit very, very still, FND will not realize that I'm here. It does not. See? And actually, that's sometimes when it gets worse. In fact, most of the time it actually just ends up with me getting hurt. Because if I choose to ignore it, instead of getting into a safe position, I end up hitting my head on a wall or on the floor or something. It's just not a pretty sight. Even if I try my best to be aware of the vulnerability that comes along with this disorder, there's only so much that I can do. I hit my head 3 separate times this week while having seizures. And I'm not new to this rodeo. These aren't my first seizures, nowhere near. This disorder just continues to take me by surprise. I mean, It can literally get triggered by me being spooked. My nervous system has an exaggerated startle response. So there's only so much preparation you can do to avoid these things. That being said, it is so much more important that I respect my body and what it is trying to tell me. Ignoring it and shaming myself for it is not the solution. As important as it is that I maintain as much independence and function as possible, it's important that I recognize my limits. And that means listening to my body wholly as it is. And I encourage you to listen to your body without judgments or expectations. You might be shocked at what it has to say, especially when what it has to say may not fit the narrative in your mind. So my point with the social media preaching there is that it's really important that we all recognize the toll that we're taking on our body, the price that we're paying when we ignore what our body is trying to tell us. Now, I know I have a very specific situation going on here with FND, but hear me out. I'm not entirely sure what the root cause of my FND is. Nobody really knows for sure. In my case, or in general, it appears that it remains one of life's great mysteries. What I can say for certain is when I find myself struggling with seizures or ticking a lot, it often coincides with stress. There are certain life stressors and also psychological triggers that bring about for me what I call bad seizure days. So FND, while it's not an entirely psychological or entirely neurological disorder, it sits in a strange position between the two. I say all this to emphasize, just because I have found some psychological connection to the way FND shows up in my life, doesn't mean that I completely understand what's going on, or that I quote, have it under control. There will always be things in life that we don't have control over. For me, FND is just one of those things. For example, a big trigger for me is loud noises. Specifically loud noises that I'm not anticipating. This really gets me. So whenever something does happen, a loud bang, perhaps my neighbor upstairs drops their loudest, heaviest pen for the bajillionth time, and it doesn't make me seize, I'm like, huh? And then other times, I can be as happy as I can be. I can be so content. Let's set the scene for you. It's a Friday evening, and I've got nowhere to be and nothing to do. I've got my favorite Sims creator on the TV. I've got my kitty in my lap. I've just had a nice meal with the love of my life. My needs are well met, and I'm feeling safe in my home. If I were a Sim, my plumb bob would be glowing green. So why am I seizing? Nights like these often end earlier than I expect, because my body will just not get on the same page as me. I would like to be still, I say to my body, but it demands to tick. I've given her everything, and this is how she demands to repay me? What a bitch, right? No. This does you no good. This is in service to no one. Being upset with myself for having a seizure when I have a seizure disorder is crazy work. Yet here I am, putting in the work. Perhaps there is just a level of mystery to the way that our brains work. Why is it that sometimes this thing will make me seize and then other times it won't? Not having enough information about something doesn't mean that that thing isn't real. And not understanding why it's happening or understanding why it's happening doesn't mean that it shouldn't be. There's a difference between trying to move through a moment of tics versus trying to push it away or push past it. There are times when I feel a deep breath will help me move through an episode. But also, in trying to work through these episodes, I've found myself so frustrated that it's happening, I lose all compassion for myself and I forget to just listen. You're so fed up with having moments like this that you don't take a second to remember that something is going on. Whether you like it or not, you can't just push your way through everything. So you'd better listen up or pay the price. So just a brief interlude here, I want to talk about spoons. Now, I'm not talking about the card game. As important as it is that I continue to put myself out there, I know realistically that I may not always be able to pour the same amount from the same cup. So you may look at it as an analogy of spoons, if you will. An analogy you may be familiar with. The theory is this. You can start the day with a select number of spoons. As the day goes on, certain tasks and circumstances will require you to use up your spoons. The more impactful the task, the more spoons required. Oftentimes, for chronically ill and disabled people, we may start the day with fewer spoons than our able-bodied comrades. Or we may require more spoons to do the same task. What's important is you keep in mind that no one has unlimited spoons. I don't care who you are, you have a limit and you really should respect it. Regardless of what you tell yourself, you should be able to do. You hear that, Jordan? I think just as much as it matters to know how many spoons you have, I think it's important to know why it is that you're using the spoons that you have. What are you using your spoons for? I feel like when I'm being my own worst enemy, I'm using my spoons for evil. Like in my worst moments, when I'm my own worst enemy, I'm using up spoons left and right just to be my own hater. Like, what the hell, man? Is this what we're living for? When you're pushing yourself to do X thing, which can be a positive thing, it's important to ask whose expectations it is that you're trying to meet. And why? Perhaps more importantly. This, what shall we call it, epidemic of self-harm via neglect is very popular in our society. It's not only popular, it's praised. You are a cog in the machine of productivity, and it must run. So make like the first Sims 4 expansion pack and get to work! There will always be times and situations where we can't meet our needs 100% when we need them. But why make the majority of our life function that way? We are not meant to be running on empty. So maybe next time you see your check engine light is on, maybe you actually listen so that in the future you don't find yourself pushing the car down the road just to get from A to B. Like I was when I was living under the theory that I like to call Cockroach Theory. Come with me. Uppies? Yuppie! All right, let's get into it. So I have this theory about who I was in my early 20s that I like to call Cockroach Theory. I would run around this great planet of ours just doing whatever it is that I had to stay alive and not much else. I would force myself, I was doing things, but I was doing them by forcing myself onto timelines for things simply because that's what I said that I would do. I would force myself onto timelines for exercise, for YouTube, whatever it is, you name it. I did a lot of that. A lot of simply doing things because that I said that I would. Because that I said that I would. I had this mentality that I could be anyone or do anything, which sounds wonderful in theory. Reality is I was scraping by on fumes and calling it living. Not eating for 12 hours at a time, forcing myself into social situations that I didn't really want to be in just for the opportunity of connection. And all of this, I never spent that crucial time getting to know myself and what I truly wanted. I didn't know what I wanted or if I could even ask for it. It took me until recently to realize that I was still doing this. I was still doing these things out of this invisible obligation that I had obliged myself with. I was so concerned that if I stopped pushing myself to do everything, that I would do nothing. Which is just not the case. It is human nature to be doing things, to be creative and curious is the crux of the human experience. Why are you so concerned about that part of you falling away if you give yourself a goddamn break? Like, how truly meaningful is that part of you if you can't seem to, quote, make yourself do it? Is there something that you're missing in order to do that thing? Or is it that there's a part of you that genuinely does not want to do that thing? It can be so much more difficult to sit there and question, now, why is it that I'm going to brunch at this place that I know is going to be a direct affront to my nervous system? Or why am I making this YouTube about the hype house when that's not at all what I genuinely care about? Like, at all, really. You can get caught into the sunk fallacy of it all when you're living under Cockroach Theory. I don't think I ever realized before, but you can push yourself and put in all the work and put in all the effort and still not have it be worth it. I think I was so afraid to fail that I convinced myself to push myself in such a way so that if I did fail, it could only possibly be because I myself am the failure. It must be me that's wrong with the system. Be careful of the promises that you make to yourself. I highly respect somebody saying they're gonna do a thing and then they go out and they do the damn thing. It is so much easier, always, to just not do something. But I also respect the hell out of somebody not doing something. It is much more impactful if you can look at something that you didn't do and ask yourself genuinely curiously why it is that you didn't do that thing. Try to be curious. See if your answer happens to include any negative self-talk. Are you being a bitch to yourself? Jordan? I'm watching you. If there's one takeaway that I have from this last year, it's give yourself a goddamn break, man. This disorder has taught me so much about the way that I used to treat myself. It's not cool to shame yourself so often. It's not cool to ignore yourself in the ways in which your body speaks to you. It's not cool. There are so many things in life that we don't have control over. For me, F&D is one of them. And it turns out I can't shame myself out of this one. So, joke's on you, Jordan. Past me, hopefully. Honestly, for a while there, the shame, it decoupled me so far from any sense of purpose and any sense of self. I was running on pure shame, baby. It was really nice to hear in the last video, people sent me well wishes, but they also mentioned the fact that they saw I was happy. It meant a lot to me. I was theatrical and melodramatic, but my happiness was genuine. It is genuine. I am genuinely happy, and it has to do with the lessons that this disorder has taught me. Shame, man. Shame is such a potent and pervasive influence, even still today in my life. I mean, when I was making preparations to come back to YouTube, I went back and I watched all of my old videos, and it made me sad. Not because I'm cringe. I am, but I'm cringe and I'm free. It was because of the way that I spoke about myself. Little jabs here and there, little self-deprecating, whatever. Like, it may seem like nothing, but like it genuinely matters. The way that you treat yourself, the way that you talk about yourself, it really changes you, and it changes your perspective on the world. So my advice, take it or leave it, is to turn the pressure down on yourself and your expectations, especially if you're someone like me who loves to be creative but has the tendency to slip into perfectionism. Your creativity does not thrive under pressure the way that you may think that it does. The actual solution sometimes is that can't be right. Get bored. Yeah, I said it. Click off this video and go get busy being bored. Respectfully, go touch grass. Go sit with your own thoughts for a moment. Watch them like waves. Don't even try to worry about riding the waves. Think less surfer and more conscious observer. And yeah, you might surprise yourself. And to sum everything up, sum it up, so again, TLDR, be kind to yourself. Oh, and be good. And if you can't be good, be careful. All right. Good night.